Hey, what's up? It's your boy BobbySapphire. So you've just come off of pre-release weekend. You love Star Wars Unlimited. What do you do now? This deck is for you. I'm going to show you the three best decks in Star Wars Unlimited. And if you've been playing Unlimited for a couple months now, maybe online or with some proxies, you probably already know this. Maybe you don't know it and you still want to disagree with it. That's fine. You should leave a comment and let me know what you think the three best decks are. But for everyone who is just getting into the game, is hyped after playing some sealed, and now you want to build a deck, let me tell you, these are the three best decks. You can build them, or you can build something that you think can beat them. Now, if you're new to card games, you might not know the three pillars of card gaming, which is the control decks, the mid-range deck, and the aggro decks. I don't know why I didn't pluralize mid-range. But so we have one each, and they truly are the three best decks and the best in each of those three categories. All of these decks use the best card in the game, Energy Conversion Lab, the green 25-point rare base that gives a unit ambush. Iden Versio for control. She was hated on at the beginning, especially by me. Her 4/4 body left something to be desired, but the amount of healing she gives you, especially against these other two decks, is just astronomical. She plays a lot of control type cards, cards that kill other things very easily. Things like Vanquish that can kill any unit. We'll go over the deck list in a minute, but control style plays to a strong late game with big drops after clearing the board. Boba Fett is a mid-range deck. It can go aggro versus the control decks. It can go control versus the aggro decks. Boba Fett untaps resources. He lets you play multiple things at a turn. He's a tempo-based deck. His flip turn, the turn where he deploys from being a leader to a unit, one of the best in the game, if not the best. Because of the extra resources, not only are you getting a 4/7, which is the best stats that come out at 5 resources, you're able to play something for 5 and then maybe use a trick or play another unit if you get to ready some resources. So he just creates an uncontrollable board state for a lot of decks. And then Sabine, the aggro deck, she's the leader that comes out the earliest. She can hit you with extra damage all game. Either when she, like in the early game when you're just setting up your board, or after you've already defeated her, she just sits in the back pinging you to death until you draw your extra burn cards. So these are the three pillars of card games. And in general, control beats mid-range, mid-range beats aggro, and aggro beats control. That's sort of the rock, paper, scissors of card games. It's not always true, and with a game like this where you can sideboard 10 cards and it's a best of 3, you can really close the gap in terms of these. In a perfect world where everyone is only playing these 3 decks, I don't know why that's perfect, but I'd be sitting in the Iden seat because I think she has game into both of these a little bit more than the other two. But honestly, all 3 decks are insane, and I've played a lot of games with these decks. So let's check them out a little bit more closely. I'm going to start with Iden Versio. My brother Maddie's been working on this a lot. He has gameplay videos with Iden up on our channel, a deck tech video where he goes into this in way more depth. It's been really well received in the community because of how in-depth he went into these card choices. And one thing you'll see with a control deck is a lot of 2-ofs and even some 1-ofs. And some people go even further in terms of like adding a bunch of 1-ofs, because the thing about control decks, and if you have spent any time playing card games, the thing about control decks is you have to know what you're going to control. And in card games, metas change all the time. It's not going to be as dynamic in a one-set meta that we have, like as Spark of Rebellion comes out, where we're playing with just one set of cards. But as more decks come out and things change week to week, your numbers change. You might, if it's really aggro-centric meta right now, you might need to go more heavily into the early game. And if it's a control-heavy meta, you need to like take a step back and cut some of those early cost cards. So control decks are always in flux, and you just never know what version you're going to bring to the table if you have a weekly tournament. You really want to be paying attention to what people play. But the general idea of this is you've got some great value cards in like something like Inferno 4 that comes out early and lets you look at the top two cards of your deck and put them on the bottom if you want. That helps smooth out Iden's draws to like make sure she's drawing the right control stuff. If you're playing against aggro, you know you probably like want to hit a Star Viper or maybe a System Patrol Craft to start blocking their units. If you're playing against control or something more mid-rangey, you might want to look for like a rook or just some removal cards, or power the dark side because they're not flooding the board. This is a great control card. An opponent chooses a unit they control, defeat that unit. It's one of the few things that can kill a leader. You kill all the rest of the things on their board, play power of the dark side when they only have their leader left is a great strategy. One of the hardest things about this game is figuring out how to kill a leader, and this deck does it well because of this card, because it has some pretty buffed units and overwhelming barrage, because it can do things like take down and vanquish, and it can also just ramp with super laser tech, resupply, and get to an end state where it's playing Count Dooku, Darth Vader, the reinforcement walker to draw more cards or heal, and Avenger. And you might make adaptations to this list. Like you might not want 2 super laser blast in here. You might want the Making Openings main deck. Great card against Boba Fett. -2/-2 to a unit, heal 2 damage. Heal 2 from your base. That costs 3. So overall, this is a great control deck. It has lots of heal with Iden. She heals every turn you kill something, and then when she's a unit, she heals after every single thing your opponent has that dies. So all these ways that we're kind of taking advantage of to kill something, she's healing our life totals, stabilizing us till we can get to Darth Vader, Reinforcement Walker, Avenger. All right, let's take a look at Boba Fett. So this is Astrotech's Boba Fett. He is in the top 4 of the current online league as I record this. He won the previous league. His deck is really clean. I have a Boba Fett deck tech that sort of goes into some of the things he's doing. And my list isn't exactly like this is, but I love his list. It's so, like, anytime you see a list, all 3 ofs and 1 2 of, you know that this person has like just created a clean list that he's found the consistent cards that he wants. He wants to draw them as often as possible. I actually like 3 Steadfast Battalion if it's a pretty heavy Boba meta, but this is definitely built towards something that's just like a catch-all. It has great early cards. It has multiple shielded units, which can be really difficult to deal with. It has those 6 ramp cards that we talked about for Iden. Green Villain, definitely one of the strongest decks to focus on in any form, just because it has these 6 ramp cards that get us to, if you play these on 3 and are able to, or like trigger your Super Laser Technician, or, skip the 4 resource turn, Boba Fett comes out 1 turn earlier, and that tempo he creates by untapping resources and letting you play more things is just elevated in that realm. And we have a great top end with Fett's Fire Spray, a 5/6 space unit, which is like pretty push stats for space, that comes in ready, and it can tap down non-unique units, and it can get in there. And then of course Vader being able to pull things like 7th Fleet Defender, Boba Fett, even a Cartel Spacer to tap something. One card that I usually run a 1 of is the Cell Block Guard that we saw in the Iden list. Is a 3/3 Sentinel that Vader can pull, just because it gives you like a little bit more of a blocker. Seasoned Shore Trooper, great late game when Vader's already out, because it'll be a 4/3 for only 2 resources. So this deck is just full of value, and it's trying to create that tempo and have a really big 5 resource turn. When Boba Fett flips, you're doing something like playing Overwhelming Barrage to kill 2 things, maybe 3 things. You can leave the Overwhelming Barrage on an unexhausted unit, holding the opponent's leader hostage. Like, as long as that thing doesn't attack, you could probably kill their leader when it comes out, or you just attack face for a bunch of damage. Steadfast Battalion, if you have Boba out, he gets +2/+2. So you're attacking as a 7/7. Usually you want to use that with Energy Conversion Lab. Bosk, another great ambush unit for turn 5. Like, these are just some excellent turn 5 plays that let us fully untap 3 resources, ready 3 resources with Boba Fett, play something like a Waylay or another unit to just create this commanding board state that we're so far ahead that people can't get into. or can't get past rather. All right, final deck. This is my version of Green Sabine. It's one that I did a deck on last week or 2 weeks ago. If you might have seen it be played pretty heavily in the Unplayable Content Creator Cup. I believe there are a lot of those in there. I played Green Sabine in that tournament. Hopefully that video has been posted yet. If not, sorry, Mike. Anyway, this is an aggro deck. You want to start with one of these 2-drop plays. Ideally, one of these 3 in the top right: Battlefield Marine, Green Squadron A-Wing, Sabine Wren, all attack for 3 on their own. Follow that up with a Fleet Lieutenant, which makes a Rebel attack at +2. It saves you an action by causing the attack when you play it, so you're able to do things like if you were the second player in this aggro mirror, playing a Fleet Lieutenant to save an action to get priority for the next turn to take the initiative sooner is really, really strong. Wing Leader also incredibly strong because against other aggro decks, they don't really have any tricks that can do 5 damage, so like playing Wing Leader as a follow-up to Sabine, the A-Wing, or the Battlefield Marine can create a 5 attack, 6 defense monster that's really hard to deal with. That's why the Medal Ceremonies are in as well. It's free, which is great for aggro. You don't have to spend any of your resources. You're only spending actions to buff your guys after they've attacked. Almost the whole deck is Rebel. Only the Steadfast Battalion isn't Rebel, and the reason why Steadfast is so good here is because Sabine comes out earlier than the Steadfast can get played, and Overwhelm with K2 and Steadfast work really well with Energy Conversion Lab because they let you usually kill something and add extra damage to the base, especially Steadfast Battalion when he's a 7/7. That's bigger than just about everything. And then the Guerrilla Attack Pod serves as sort of a Sabine's Fire Spray trademark in this deck, where if you've done 15 damage to the base already, which is not very difficult for this deck, this thing comes in ready and it's a 4/6, and that 6 booty is really, really tough to deal with. So this is an aggro deck. You turn these cards sideways and it's got the best event in the game, maybe. I guess Overwhelming Barrage is better, but this card is stupid. It routinely deals 4 damage for 3 resources off the top. And this deck, specifically my deck, is geared to try and hit that as much as possible. The only non-heroic cards we have in our deck are Steadfast Battalion. So yeah, those are the 3 best decks: the best aggro deck, the best mid-range deck, and the best control deck. And I don't mean like these lists are the 3 best lists. I just mean that like if you were going to play 3 decks, or you were going to build a deck like this, you should either build one of these or know that these are the ones to beat, because these are the ones that people are playing. They're probably the most played deck in each realm: control, mid-range, and aggro. And I think they're the best, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. So if you disagree with me, you should let me know in the comments, especially if you have like crazy thoughts like Krennic is better than Iden or something. Who would ever think that? And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're loving Unlimited. I hope you're ready for Premiere, the Premiere format, the constructed format of Spark of Rebellion. And, give us a like, a subscribe, and a comment, and let us know what you think of the game. All right, out.